thank you for clicking on the video. Followed some of my other videos, you kind of already know I did a full polish on the paint recently. Well, unfortunately, I've already started to face issues. Fenders started fading again, had some light scratching starting again. I kind of found a more permanent solution that would be able to lock the paint that I have finished out. The way I look at it, I just spent $200 and saved myself $5,000 from doing a full paint job. Who knows how much it would really cost to do this full thing again. So anyways, maybe you're in the market for doing something like this. We'll go ahead and get the road on the show. And I said that wrong, so this already isn't looking too good. So it's up to you if you want to stay. I mean, I'd appreciate it. But please stay. Thank you. Well, I'm not going to give you a full family history project on this thing, but it is a 97 Jeep Wrangler TJ. It is SE. It's got the little wimpy go-kart engine in it. You can do your research on that if you want to know what that is. But in any event, it does have around 150,000 miles, or approaching 150,000 miles. All original powertrain. It really has been reliable. If you do want to learn more about this thing, I do have other videos, and I'll link those down below. So about 6-7 months ago, I decided I was going to do a little test section on the paint. Ended up leading me to doing a full polish on the Jeep. The results were awesome. I really couldn't believe how well everything came out, even the fenders, which I was really excited about. The unfortunate thing about all of this is that I really didn't have all the polishers I needed, especially to hit these pillar areas. I was able to kind of get my buffer in there where I could, so I really couldn't finish that out. And also, 2 months after that, I did get a ton of overspray over the Jeep. And it was really stupid. I knew better. Me and a buddy did paint his frame before, and we didn't have any overspray on it. At least I don't think we did. Maybe it just didn't look good enough. But don't be stupid about that like me. I even knew better. I just decided, it'll be all right. I think in the back of my head too, I knew I was going to have to kind of do a full decom wash anyways, because I was planning on doing a ceramic coating. It's a pretty easy fix. Really all I needed was a clay bar, and that got everything out. Unfortunately though, it goes from one thing to another. So when you do clay bar, you do actually create these little scratches. It's called paint marring. So I did have to compound that out. Once again, not super big of a deal. It wasn't over everything. It was really kind of on the top of the Jeep, more on the hood area. So anyways, we'll go ahead, and that kind of leads us to part 2. Go ahead and talk about that. So doing a thorough decontamination wash is probably the most important thing you can do before you do any sort of polishing or ceramic coating. I'm really not going to get too far into it, but essentially it is a really aggressive car soap that takes off any waxes or sealants. 2, it's going to be an iron dissolver, brake dust, maybe you live next to a rail yard, something like that. Iron, believe it or not, will get into your paint. 3, you're going to do a clay bar, and that's just going to remove whatever else you didn't get off, or sap, whatever. I'd already kind of done that 6 or 7 months ago, so everything was kind of irregular how I did this. A week before I started doing the polishing, I did clay bar it. I used a medium to aggressive chemical guys clay bar, and that pulled out all of the paint overspray. After that, right before I started polishing, I did do the aggressive strip wash soap to the whole paint, and then after that, just kind of got started polishing. I did focus on taping off all of the weather stripping, rubber, stuff like that a buffer wheel could hit and mark up. After that, thorough polish kind of around these more intricate areas with the Rupes Nano 1-inch polisher. Now, what's good about all this happening, I couldn't do this 6-7 months ago because I didn't have this. This machine's very expensive. It's like $600, but I tell you, it's well worth it. You can switch it to a dual action or rotary, which is forced rotation. So anyways, I was able to kind of go around and clean up these areas because there's a lot of small areas. After that, I did polish the glass. I used a Meguiar's microfiber cutting pad, then I used a compound capable of removing 1500 grit wet sand. Next, we'll go in and talk about what I did for the rest of the day. Overspray was on the hood and the tops of these fenders. Everything else was pretty much fine. So doing all the marring from the clay bar, I did go ahead and just start with a Meguiar's cutting pad, just like I did with the windshield, with the same compound. Basically just kind of leveled all of it out, and then went back with a fine finishing pad and polish, and that really did everything there. The sides and the back, everything was fine, so I didn't have to do any cutting on there. Just basically the hood the front clip here, and up here on the windshield, those intricate areas, and then on the tops of the fenders. Other than that, everything went pretty smooth. But it was really time consuming just because of all the intricate areas. It's just really time consuming with these Jeeps like this. Believe it or not, they are small, but still take quite a bit of time. So I had to grab my boot scooter, that's what I call it. It's just a little Craftsman mechanic swivel stool, but basically I was really hesitant on this part, paint touch-up. You can get a little overboard with this, and there's so many little rock chips on this thing, but it really did help it out. These doors, we did buy them from an individual off Craigslist. They were on his daughter's Jeep. They were sitting in a barn, and there's a ton of rock chips over this thing. And what I think had happened is that them sitting in a barn, potentially they were weed eating around them and kicked up a bunch of rocks, maybe the lawnmower, or probably more likely she could have had really wide tires on her Jeep and they just kicked a bunch of rock chips. So I was hesitant about doing this because I was afraid it was going to look like chicken pox or something like that. There's going to be a bunch of little dots, but believe it or not, you have to be on it to see it. I mean, there's like 50 or 60 spots I touched up, but it ended up coming out really well. I did touch up a couple little spots around the front fender there. It had a little bit of surface rust starting, so I kind of scuffed that down and touched it up. Came out great. None of this looks perfect, but they call them like 1-footers, 3-footers. This is probably a 1-footer. Up there, it's probably more like a 2-footer. So you're never going to get that perfect unless, of course, you repaint it. But that was my goal, just to preserve. So anyways, that leads us to the fenders. I want to talk about that. So here are the fenders. Basically what I did here was I took a fine finishing pad and polish, and that seemed to do the best. On these bags, they get a lot of stuff that gets kicked up on them, so these are a little bit chipped up. But these, I did ceramic coat over them, so they will hold up. Thankfully, I did do that, so now I don't really need to go buy any fenders anytime soon or try to refinish these. But what's neat about it is I've actually got some mud on here, and I'm going to grab my phone, turn the light on here. I just want to show you how well this ceramic coating does. This is mud that's been sitting on there for a few days now, and it just kind of slides right off there. It's pretty neat. So I will say with the fenders, there's no more polish in these things. They're not even supposed to look like this. That's the whole funny thing about all this. I believe they're supposed to be like a semi-gloss. Anyways, this is the last time I'm going to be able to polish these out. That's another reason why I wanted to ceramic coat them. These are already starting to kind of get faded up top. So anyways, it's kind of all locked in. It's like I just put clear coat over everything. It's kind of like one of those like Restomods or Patina where they'll just clear over it. A little bit different. I'm not really into that, but I kind of like this because it's the original paint. And anyways, so that's the fenders. Covered the paint, covered the windows, all that stuff. Let's get into the ceramic coating and why I went with it. So for ceramic coatings, I did go with Crystal Serum Light by G-Technic as well as XO V4 by G-Technic. You can actually stack these two if you do them in the right process, but this is supposed to be a 3+ year ceramic coating, and this is supposed to be an 18 to 24 month coating. Basically, the deal with this is that you'll do your first initial layer with Crystal Serum Light. After that, you'll wait 4 hours, let it cure. Of course, you want to do it in 50 degrees or above. You don't want too much humidity. A lot of variables that that come into factor. But next, after 4 hours, you'll want to go with XO V4 and wait another 4 hours after that. Then do one more layer of XO V4, which will equal out to 3 coatings. Before you do any ceramic coating, you do want to use panel wipe to make sure you get all of the polished surfaces, make sure there's no residue or anything like that. In the box, it does come with your ceramic as well as a droplet. Here's about how much I used. You also get a set of gloves and kind of like an instruction pamphlet. I will say, before you go jumping into one of these, make sure you do your research. Make sure you should be getting into something like this, and it does also come with a sticker. Now they both come with applicator pads. Let me hop over here to XO-V4. I've still got one of the applicator pads. They both come with these kind of a thick foam applicators you can see here, and a lot of the ceramic gets wasted and absorbed through this. So most people, like what I did, they'll buy the Car Pro foam block applicator. I've got an old gift card here. You can slide the suede microfibers into the little slots here. And then this is what I use, Geon's suede applicators. And you can see here, they're real thin, and you can easily replace them. These come with around 10, I believe. So you can kind of just, by looking at this, it's pretty easy to tell. You're clearly going to waste quite a bit compared to this. Now, obviously, some still gets absorbed through this, but not nearly as much. And as for removing said ceramic coating, yes, you do need to have a certain kind of microfiber. This is what I use, the Edgeless Pearl 320 GSM coating sealant and interior microfiber towel. You do need a specific microfiber to remove the coating, and this is kind of what they look like here. I will have all this stuff linked down below. Of course, I'm not sponsored. I have used these products before. That's actually what is on the T-Bird video if you want to go check that out. In any event, I'd say I'm around under $200 with all of these products. Go ahead and talk to you about actually installing this. Now, this isn't a how-to. I am just showing you the products. I will just kind of give a brief overview on what you need to do. All right, so you're going to grab your foam block here. You're going to take your suede applicator pad, use those little slits right there, and you can just kind of work those in there. You don't have to worry about that being too neat over here. Just kind of stretch that over. Go ahead and do that. That's why it's good to have an old card like this. And basically, you'll take your ceramic coating and you're going to pull some out, squeeze it, do a line all the way down because you're going to want to get this broke in a little bit because it's still a fresh suede applicator. So kind of get that broke in, and you'll basically just want to do a first 1x1 little square here, kind of like this. It's a crosshatch motion. So do a 1x1, and then you'll go back and do it the other way. And especially around areas like this and towards the edges, be really careful how you install it. You want to make sure you don't skip out on those. Also, when you're wiping this off, if you're wiping up here, you're going to get some down here when you're wiping. So make sure you go back and do a really thorough wipe job. But what's going to happen is when you do that first 1x1, you're going to wait around 30 seconds. You don't even have to wait that long with Crystal Serum Light. You can go ahead and immediately take it off. It's going to do this thing called flashing, and that's almost kind of like a sweating. You can see the difference when you first apply it to about 30 seconds. You can kind of see it start to come out, and that'll let you know it's time to remove it off. Now, for XO V4, it's a little bit different. You actually are supposed to leave that on there for around 2 to 3 minutes. So we're going to continue talking about Crystal Serum Light. So you need to have a little bit of an imagination. Now, like I said, you can pull that off pretty much immediately. You'll see it flash. That's when you'll really know. But take a hood like this, right? I like to envision a bunch of squares, 1x1 squares across this whole hood, okay? So when you do that first 1x1, okay, you fill in that first box, you'll hop over here, fill in that next box, and when you're filling in that next box, you're going to want to slightly overlap into the box you already did, kind of tying everything back together. Now, that's for Crystal Serum Light, doing the 1x1s. That's how I do it, okay? Like I said, you can pull it right off. You can wait around 30 seconds, wait till it flashes ideally. Just kind of depends on the weather you're in. Now, for XO V4, it's a little bit different. You can go a lot further. You can see in the video, I was really stretching it out there. I was going probably all the way around there. And the thing with that, it's going to sit on there for around 2 to 3 minutes before you pull it off. Say around 2 minutes. It's up to you, just kind of use your judgment there, but that's pretty much the protocol for that. So you can go a lot further, and basically the way to look at it is when you do that first coating, you really got to make that one count, the Crystal Serum Light, because that's the one you're going to do first. Really make that one count, because even if you miss on the second time around, you'll end up getting it the third time around. So the first one, you got to be on it. So anyways, that's kind of the process for it, not a how-to. Now I'm going to get into why I went with the ceramic coating and some of the pros and cons of using a ceramic coating. So I've given you an overview on the Jeep. I've talked to you about the process that led up to actually installing the ceramic coating to actually installing the ceramic coating. Now I'm going to talk to you about why did I do this? Well, it all ties back to 6 to 7 months ago when I did the initial polish. I want to be the person that preserves things, especially stuff like this. I don't want to, oh, it's got a scratch, we need to repaint the whole thing. What's the fun in that? And you know, a paint job's $4,000 or $5,000, and at that point, you go and spend all that money, then you never want to drive it. And, you know, I don't know if those are actually accurate numbers. I don't know. It could cost way more than that to get this thing repainted, maybe less. Anyways, you never want to drive it because then it will be too perfect. And at the end of the day, just an old Jeep, you know. There is some sentimental stuff with it, with me in it. And I'm not really a sentimental guy, but we've just had this thing for so long. I just want to keep it the way it is. I like that it's got scratches. I like that it has dents. I like that I don't have to worry too much about it. So my options really were pretty limited. I could get a clear bra wrap over it, which is like $4,000 or $5,000, so that wasn't really an option. So if you don't know anything about ceramic coatings, basically what it is, it's a semi-permanent coating. A wax or sealant's kind of like makeup. It's going to last 1 to 3 months tops. You do a couple washes and all of the benefits of having wax on your vehicle are gone. It really is about useless. It looks good temporary. It makes your paint hydrophobic and it gives it a little bit of a protection, but you're just constantly reapplying it and reapplying it. One of the reasons I went with the ceramic coating. 2, after spending all this time polishing out, clearly a sealant or a wax wasn't cutting it because it was still getting slight scratching, and I'm very meticulous how I wash stuff, and it was still getting scratched up and stuff. So I knew ceramic coating was going to be the route. Now, I've talked about kind of the pros and cons of that. I've got one more pro actually. You know, like I said, wax or sealant 1 to 3 months tops if you're lucky. Ceramic coating 3 to 5 years, and I think I'll get 5 or so out of it. Some of the cons of a ceramic coating, they are expensive. And if you don't know how to do this, you're gonna end up paying through the roof to get this done from somebody. And you really better spend the money and do your research to make sure you're going to somebody reputable. And something you should know, some of the cons, like I was just saying, number 2, there are a lot of maintenance. You have to maintain these coatings. If you don't, they're still susceptible to scratches. They're still susceptible to water spotting. They're not scratch proof. You've got to be careful what you read on the internet or see on the internet. A lot of this crap is just crap. It's lies, you know. They are awesome. They do serve a purpose, but they're not like bomb proof like these people act like they are. You spend $1,000, $2,000 to get this installed. That's on the low end. To get it removed, it is semi-permanent. So you have to use a machine polisher to get this off. And in a lot of cases, they have to use like wet sandpaper to get it off. I haven't had to do that. I haven't had to take one off yet. But I have seen one that I've done recently, that I've done in the last year, and the person hasn't maintained it and it does not look good. It hasn't failed. And so that's another thing I want to get to. Good thing about a wax and a sealant, you just put it on there and wax on, wax off. Constantly maintaining it. If it fails, it fails. It doesn't just disappear like a wax or a sealant. You have to, like I said, go back and do all that again. And supposedly when it fails, it turns into like a chalk. And so it will chalk off. So that's a nightmare. And you know, I don't know what it costs to remove one of those. Like I said, I haven't had to remove any ceramic coatings yet, but that's probably just as much to put it on there, if not to take it off. Probably more to take it off. So you need to figure that. Are you going to maintain it? You know, or are you just going to trade your vehicle in after a year? At that point, I wouldn't get a ceramic coating. I will say they are really cool. They do make washing a lot easier. I showed you the fenders with the little mud flaking off. I mean, you can blow dry these things in like 30 seconds. You know, so there's a lot of benefits to it, a lot of negatives. Do your research. I'm not really your sales guy here. Be careful what you read on the internet. Be careful whatever detailer you're going to tells you, you know. A good one's going to tell you the pros and the cons and, you know, realistically what's going to happen with said coating over the next 3 to 4 years. So, look out for yourself. If you have any questions for me, I'll try to help you out. I should have disclosed this at the beginning. I'm not an expert. I don't know everything. I'm not a chemist. I don't make these products. I'm just the guy that puts them on sometimes. I like them, but if your crap's parked out in the sun all day, you don't ever wash it because you got 15 kids or 20 jobs, whatever. It's really extreme, but you know, just make sure you fall in that criteria of a person that it makes sense to have one of these. Most of the time, probably doesn't, because $1,000, $2,000, it's a lot of money. It is a lot of work too, though. Anyways, that's all I have to say about that. I hope you're still watching. If not, well, I'm just talking to myself, which I'm just talking to myself anyways. Okay. Take it easy. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you want to, or don't. That's fine too. Drop a like, drop a dislike, throw a comment down, ask a question, tell me what you think. If you have your vehicle ceramic coated or not, let me know, and let me know what you drive. All right. Take it easy.